You're listening to the Pixie Dust Fan Podcast. Hi, I'm Francine.
And I'm Carrie.
We're two best friends who can't stop talking, usually about Disney stuff.
Sometimes we have fascinating guests, and sometimes it's just us, but it's always positive and fun.
We're happy to have you join our chat. Thanks for listening, and let's get started. Hello, Carrie and Dustin. We are here this week with both of you.
Hi.
Lucky day.
It's exciting. We just saw each other like days ago, and now all of a sudden we're seeing each other virtually.
We're like, yeah, he's like, yeah, Carrie. And I'm like, yeah, Dustin. We saw you the other day.
It was funny that the first time we had actually met was down in Florida, like in person. And I was like, oh, yeah, we know each other. They're just like, you just walk up and you're like, hi, I know who you are. I've seen you. I've interacted with you. It's that whole like COVID mentality of like, I haven't seen you forever. And then poof, there you are.
I know. Isn't that great?
It's weird.
It's so funny because you guys had never even met in person. And then you happened to be in Walt Disney World at the same time.
Happens a lot of times.
It does.
Community.
We have a lot of Disney friends that you have that live in Canada, even in the same city or close by, and then you never see them unless you're in Florida, which is kind of crazy.
Well,
we've got the exact opposite because of like for Fran, you and I have never been to Disney at the same time, but now Carrie and I, so we have to sync up for the next one. I think we can get something in with maybe a Victorian Alberts or something, but we'll see.
Yeah, that sounds. Yeah, let's do that. there was times like when we were coming out of COVID or whatever in the middle of it when we started traveling again, we saw our Canadian Disney friends in Florida and we hadn't seen them at home.
Yeah,
like we legit had not seen them at home in person.
Yes,
yet we were meeting at Disney World under all of the rules and regulations and things we had to do.
It's insane. I have a friend who lives like maybe an hour drive. Like Carrie, we have this friend. We've met her once in Toronto, and it was right after COVID, I think, or before COVID. We met for lunch at one of the shopping malls. Otherwise, I have seen her about 12 times. I've spent a week on vacation with her. Like we've done all these things together in Florida, but I've only ever really seen her once in Canada.
That's funny.
It's nuts.
That's so funny.
So nuts. Anyway, so we have Dustin from Steps to Magic. Oh, and your other website name is, I should have written it down.
Oh, it's the Immersive Lab.
The Immersive Lab. That's it. It was on the tip of my tongue. So Dustin, you've been on the show a few times because you're friends of our show. And we wanted to do a trip report with you because you just got back from Walt Disney World, where of course you got to spend time with the fabulous Carrie. But yeah, we wanted to hear all about your trip.
Yeah, we have fun with these trip reports. I'm trying not to turn this into a book report because that tends to happen when you do the amount of stuff on the itinerary that like we do as travel bloggers and travel agents, and we're always on the go. You always want to try something new. So with this trip, we tried very hard to do as much new as possible.
Excellent.
It didn't really work out the way.
It's always the best laid plans.
Exactly. So for this discussion, my hope is to have a basic discussion around here's the things that we did, here's the things that we learned, best of, worst of, and then we'll talk Victorian Alberts at the end.
Awesome.
Because as we all know, Victorian Alberts is amazing.
Yes.
So, and the other nice thing is that I'm also a little behind the scenes. I'm sharing all of my photos with Francine and Carrie right now on a share screen. So as we're going through, I'm able to pick up different photos and be like, hey, so this is what this exact bread service looked like at Victorian Alberts. And then randomly it'll just pop up and then you can see vicariously, and maybe we'll put things in. It's a great focaccia, and you should have seen the and there's the truffle butter. So yeah, we're gonna have a ton of fun. So I wanted to start out by saying where we stayed. So this was the first trip that we had stayed at the Sonder Cirrus or Cirrus. It's down on West Bronson Memorial Highway, like a 2 or 3 minute drive to the Target. We've stayed down here before. There was a lot of discussion around why we stay in certain areas. And with this one, it was basically because we didn't want to spend too much money because obviously when you're in Canada, things are a little expensive, especially when you're talking about the exchange rate.
So we pay what, 30% right now? Is it 30
exactly.
or 32?
It was rough. So what we ended up doing was we stayed at the Sonder. We have Sonders up here in Toronto. There's Sonders all over the place. But the nice thing is that it is a hop, skip, and a jump to Animal Kingdom. It's about an $8 Uber ride from Animal Kingdom Lodge to the Sonder. And we've stayed down here before. We've stayed at the Orbit 1. We've also stayed at the Quality Inn. So we know this area. We also know that it's around $12 to get from the Sonder all the way up to the Contemporary Resort. So it's a really interesting location. We, for 7 nights, 8 days for flights and hotels, cost us $1,300 Canadian for both me and my partner.
Wow.
So that was a really good deal for us to get down. It's about $600 each for flight and hotel. Worked out perfectly. We flew Porter for the first time ever.
Porter flights included in that. Like, seriously.
Yes.
I just paid like $750 for one person flights.
Oh
my gosh. Okay. So go on. Sorry.
We'll have some fun with some tips and tricks in the next little bit. But yeah, we were able to get a really good deal. We flew out of Toronto at like 10 o'clock in the morning. And then we got back. We took one of the evening flights. So we were back in Toronto at like 11:45 p.m. So we did that. We still can't buy annual passes in Canada. The only annual pass you can buy is that really, really fancy one. So we didn't do that. We bought something through Undercover Tourist called the 4-Park Magic tickets. So this allows you to get into one park per day, but it only gives you one Magic Kingdom, one Epcot, one Hollywood Studios, and one Animal Kingdom. You have 7 days to use those 4 parks. But for those 2 tickets was $815.58 US.
Yes.
That's about $1,000 Canadian for Jill and I to go into the parks. We also bought the Halloween party. We went same night as Carrie, which was awesome. We were able to get our tickets at $129 US each. So with taxes came to $274. It's an expensive trip, especially when you're putting the US and the Canadian side into it. But we figured that when we were there, we're going to really play it up. So those savings that we did with the resort actually ended up going to Victoria and Albert's. We did not plan to get Victoria and Albert's. We booked the tickets. We booked everything like that. Everything was going to be amazing. And then I sent a couple notes and a couple emails, and I got onto the waiting list. And we actually were able to secure a reservation at Victoria and Albert's, which we did. It was our 4th time. So that budget savings of staying off property really helped.
Yes. Well, yeah, I paid for your dinner.
Exactly.
One dinner.
I love Jill's outfit.
It's definitely we have fun. The whole thing with Victoria and Albert's is you do have to dress up, which is part of the adventure. You want to be able to enjoy the experience, but like normal, we're always bloggers, we're always travel photographers. We never bring our like big DSLRs in. We're always bringing our little iPhones, but it definitely works out. There's some amazing things that we do. And there's going to be a full review very quickly over on Steps to Magic. So by the time this podcast goes out, it'll be fully up and ready to go. But yeah, 4th time. It was crazy. So I'm just confirming, since our last discussion, you folks have not been to Victoria and Albert's, correct?
No, I haven't fit it in yet.
We talk about it and we say, and then it doesn't.
We were just trying to go to Cinderella's Royal Table last trip.
Well, it's funny when Dustin started talking and he was like, and we had a whole list of things, and like the way we all do it, and I'm thinking we don't do it that way. Carrie and I don't do a lot. Like, you're right, we tried to go to Cinderella's Royal Table, and I think we could only get like an 8 p.m. and we were like, that's too late.
So one of the funny things about this whole thing is over on Steps to Magic, I actually deleted every single article on my website. So I'm rewriting every single article with all new photos.
Man. Crazy.
And with that came the top 10 reservations that you have to get ASAP. And I've updated it to include the number one being Sanaa, because still Sanaa is the best reservation to get. But the nice thing is you can get it as a walk-up. So you can go in and you can sit at the bar and get bread service. Victoria and Albert's number 2, Ohana number 3, Steakhouse 71, Tusker House. And then down at the bottom, number 9 is Cinderella's Royal Table. So I think you guys should do it.
We should.
It's a really fun experience. It's expensive. The food isn't the best. But I still think that if you're choosing between Cinderella's Royal Table and the new Be Our Guest, I'd rather do Cinderella's Royal Table.
Yeah, I've done the new Be Our Guest. I've done Be Our Guest till like I'm blue in the face. I'm ready to mix it up. I'm ready to mix
fully
it up.
Understand. I wish that they would bring back the QSRs for Be Our Guest. I miss being able to go and do a quick service lunch. The $21 French dip with a drink. Oh, it was just amazing. So
their breakfast was delicious. The pastry they used to have for the breakfast. Oh my gosh, it was so yummy. Yeah, I missed that. Anyway, we digress. But yes, of course, we do have Victoria and Albert's and Cinderella's Royal Table on our list. Right, Carrie?
As we should. And I'll make sure to put in some good words. Victoria and Albert's is a Michelin-starred restaurant. They just got it earlier this year. So we'll definitely make sure to create some friends. Because here on the Pixie Dust Fan Podcast, it's all about creating friendships and networking. And you never know who's going to pop on the next episode. So that's the fun that we learned with Jim Fielding.
I was just going to say, if you listen to the episode with Jim Fielding, we did talk about you a little bit at the beginning, saying Dustin is like the best for networking and bringing people together and just introductions. It's amazing. Okay.
And it's
Dustin's
fun.
trip report. Trip report.
So, 5 things that we learned while we were down in Florida for this trip. Number 1 is Disney is not the same that it was 2 years ago. It's not the same that it was 5 years ago. It is definitely not the same that it was 10 years ago. Things have changed. Things have updated, some for the better, some for the worse. The worst, in my opinion, would be things like bag check. The security bag check when you're going into the theme parks right now. They have metal detectors, but if you have your, say, for example, you have your umbrella or your eyeglass case in your bag and you don't have it out, literally holding it out in front of you as you're walking through the metal detectors, you have to go to a secondary screening line and they have to comb through your backpack to find out what was going on. But as they're doing this, and here's the thing that bugs me, as they're doing that rummaging, they're pulling stuff out and putting it into a tray so everyone around you can see it. This is not good when you're trying to hold gifts for your significant other as they're behind you and you're pulling out and they're opening up. And I'm like, can you not open up that Pandora bracelet that I picked up? I don't want my significant other to see that I'm getting her into the Pandora charm world. And it's weird because at MCO, at the Orlando International Airport, they've got security down pat.
Yeah.
Put your bags into a security x-ray. You walk through. It does everything you need to. You go. They've done the exact same thing at Universal Studios. It's a breeze. Why are we going back in time? It's a weird kind of discussion where I just didn't get it. So that's the thing that we learned is that things are not the same. Secondly, the Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party has actually gotten better without being changed. Like it hasn't changed. Nothing's changed with Not So Scary in 20 years. It's the same party that it was back then. They move things in and out. But the things we learned was that it actually wasn't too bad this time because they had moved things around to make it so you weren't all like in one section. They still didn't get the character greetings down pat. I don't understand why they have all 5 or all 4 of the Fab Five in the back, and it's just a single like set of them. We're adults. We can say that there's different rooms. why they don't have different rooms didn't quite make any sense. And then for other things, it was like, and this was the weird part about this, was that Gaston's Tavern closed at 4:00 on party night because they turn it into a treat trail.
Right.
Do you really need to close one of the most popular spots in your theme park in order to turn it into a treat trail when you have other options like steps away?
Right.
Those are the things that and they also closed Columbia Harbor House at 5.
Oh.
So big QSRs, all for treat trails.
Oh.
So
interesting.
They were learning, but it wasn't as bad. We didn't leave the party this time swearing that we would never go again.
Okay. And Carrie, you found it as good as, like, you found it better? Because we've sworn off parties for the last few years.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought they did rearrange some of the treat trails and things, I think, to accommodate people and flow. But it was weird, like, because I hadn't been for a few years. So I would see these treat trails and be like, what's a treat trail doing here? I'm wondering why there's a treat trail there. And I'm sure that's why they did it. Like they have a couple, like they had a treat trail in the Princess Hall where it's sort of like Disneyland, like there was characters all in there and you can take pictures. So I like that. But yeah, like the treat trails were still like, they give you a big scoop of candy. So they're still not, I still prefer the Disneyland treat trails way more than this. But in the end of the treat trails, they're giving out scoops of candy, not just a handful, like a legit scoop of candy.
Okay.
So, and it seemed like there was fewer treat trails. Like it seems like there's fewer ones, but they've got them inside. Like it rains a lot, so like having them in Columbia Harbor House maybe makes sense. Like if it rains at 70% of these parties or 80% of these parties, like it does make sense to probably have these treat trails indoors just for the water and the tracking and whatever, right? Like I'm sure it makes sense that way. But yeah, the treat trails just didn't seem the party just looked it was really busy, but the parades was awesome, the fireworks were awesome, like the deliverables were all kind of the same. So
yeah, we also said that during the party, it was us that made the party better. Like Disney didn't do its job by bringing its A game. Jill and I felt like we sought out opportunities to make the party better, present company included. The fact that we were able to spend time with you was a huge bonus for our party night.
Aww.
If we didn't have that opportunity, because we were able to go on to Haunted Mansion and close that out for the night. We were able to see the parade and the fireworks. There were all these things that we were able to do. And then before we had met up with Carrie, we were able to do Tron, which was like, it's not part of the party, but it's like, well, yeah, if you get a chance to go and do Tron at a decent time of the night, like we were in there we got in at like 10:30, so right after the fireworks.
Oh, nice.
Most people left because it was raining. So we're like, oh, let's go over to Tron, and we were able to get in and out within 25 minutes.
Wow, that's
and then
impressive.
Able to go from Tron to the front of the castle. Within 25 minutes after that, we were able to watch the parade. It was great. The thing that I will always share is that Universal up the street does a brand new Halloween Horror Nights event every single year. It is, they do some things year to year, but overall it's a new event. That isn't what Disney does. No,
it's generally I still think that's the best parade they do. Like I do. Sure. I love the Halloween parade. I think it's freaking awesome. Yeah. That is really the reason I wanted to go to the party. That's the only reason I ever wanted to go to the party, was for the parade.
I just wish that they would update the technology in the parade. I feel like there's things that they're doing right now that they could enhance with newer technology. Yeah. And I think that there are certain folks in the parade that can be swapped out. I think we don't have to have the exact same people overall, but that's part of the dollars and cents of this, because if we were so good as fans to know what was going on within the parks, we would do it. But they're selling out every single night.
Mm-hmm.
And we're all like, yes, let's go and do it. We still complain about it, but we still go and buy it.
Yes.
So that's kind of something that we learned, was that there was a lot of similarities, but still differences about the Halloween party. The other thing, so food has definitely gone downhill in certain aspects. It's gotten better in certain areas. I think Polite Pig is still the number one quick service on property at Disney Springs. I think there's ideas around some of the resort food getting better and better and better. But the things that we learned were, you have to take Disney at a grain of salt right now, because it is more expensive, more confusing. There's a lot of things that are going on. So that's what we learned. It's things change, sometimes not for the better. And there are times where you do have to make your own magic in the parks.
Would you think that if you were a first-time visitor?
If I was a first-time visitor, I don't think I would choose Disney, because it's so confusing. If someone
if you were going your first time, sure, you wanted to go to Disney, I think that's where Disney does it. And they do the same things all the time, because the majority of the people going to Disney aren't like us. They don't know that it was the same parade last year. They don't know it was the same people on the floats. Like they don't have to change it, because the majority of the people probably wouldn't know any different. So I wonder that sometimes, especially since I was just there with someone who hasn't been since in like 30 years.
Yeah.
Her perspective was so different, because she didn't know any different. She didn't know any better. You know, she loved everything she ate. She loved every place I took her. Like, because her perspective was she had nothing to go on other than that first experience. So I wonder that sometimes if it's different because it's us. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. And maybe we're living and going to the wrong theme park for our world. Maybe we should be doing Disneyland a little bit more often.
Oh, God.
Because Disneyland changes.
Stop sucking up to Carrie. Stop sucking up to Carrie.
It does. When you look at Disneyland versus Disney World, they've gotten new parades. They've gotten everything. And I was just watching a video a little while ago about all of the things in Disney World that didn't come back since the pandemic. You know, Rivers of Light and the kite tails and like that thing, to even Muppets. Muppets Courtyard is nothing outside of just Muppet 3D. All the shops back there are all closed still. Like, there are things that just didn't come back. So it's an interesting little discussion, especially when we're talking about new folks going down, because new folks going down, there's a chance that they can be misled based on out of date information, because Disney keeps changing everything.
Yep. Yeah.
That was the one thing we saw. So we learned, and this is the last thing that we learned that Uber is now getting pushback when they drop off guests at resorts that do not have reservations for dining. And before, this was always the tip. Take the Uber to the Contemporary, say that you're going in and checking out Contempo Cafe and walk across the street. You don't have to do the ferry or anything. Well, now, if you aren't on a physical list, because the security guards have access to the guest registration for advanced dining reservations. Yep. So they can pull up your name and say, yes, you're right. You do have a reservation at Steakhouse 71. So we got pushback a little bit. It was the first time that I had seen that. Absolutely.
Interesting. I say I'm just going shopping or whatever. We
got pushback at the Riviera for that. We said we were going in just to do a basic quick service. And they're like, well, we can't allow you in unless you have dining reservations. We're like, yeah, but we're doing quick service. Like, you don't do. And he's like, yeah, I know, we're not allowed to let you in. And so it could be a security thing where they're changing things up. But
yeah,
the thing that we've been talking about in the Disney community for years are the folks who are making the decisions about security and all these front end guest situations are the ones that park backstage, and they never go through the front turnstiles themselves. So they wouldn't know what kind of a pain in the neck this would be. So that's kind of the world. One thing that I did want to bring up, though, were the things that we did for the first time.
Yes.
And as we know, when you're a Disney fanatic, there are rides that, I've never done before, but I've kind of done them all. I just tell people that I haven't done them. But this trip was different because we actually did different things. We went to Summer House. Have you guys been to Summer House before at Disney Springs?
We did. Carrie and I had dinner. Was it dinner we had?
Lunch, I think. Lunch
or dinner. I don't know. We ate there.
So we went for brunch. We went for brunch, and it was amazing. It was definitely one of those spots that when you think about going to Disney Springs, it's a third-party organization. Like when you go there, you're like, okay, sure, it's there. I'm trying to remember what day this was on. It was definitely before something. Oh, it was before our Magic Kingdom Halloween party. So we ended up doing Disney Springs that morning because you never, ever, ever want to waste a party or a day ticket with a party at 6 o'clock. Like that's just crazy. But when we went to Disney Springs first thing in the morning and went to Summer House. So first off, it's absolutely gorgeous. They've done a great job with the inside, the outside. They have their own little quick service bakery where you can go in, get really good value for, your chai lattes and those types of things. They've got their own merchandise, which is always a good sign. They sell ponchos for $15, which is actually cheaper than Disney. Go figure. But what I found was that when you do brunch at these spots, you get that nice mixture between breakfast and lunch, but it's actually a great value. And you also get a chance to buy sodas. And you get refills on them, which you don't get anywhere else. So I'm just a big fan of going to some of these restaurants where you get something different, something unique. But this is a permanent restaurant. It's not going anywhere. But they do have Summer House at the airport as well. So when you go to Terminal C, they're the ones that are up top. So we ended up doing Summer House twice actually on this trip, which kind of was weird when you think about it. But yeah, when you're walking through Terminal C, it's actually upstairs above, I think it's right next to the Universal store. And it's really cool. You literally just get a second floor and you get to overlook all the exhibitions and everything. It's just a cool little spot. So yeah, Summer House was one thing that we had never done before.
Nice.
We had never done Tron.
So what did you think of Tron?
It was we did it twice. So we did it daytime and nighttime. It's always better the first time because you don't know what to expect.
Yeah.
But as a tall person, I'm 6'4". It did feel a little bit constrained. Because when you sit down, you have to get in, you kneel, then you push back. And that's the way that your body kind of gets convoluted into this thing. If you have long legs, you're going to have to deal with it. But the ride is actually one of the shortest rides on Disney property. It's only 1 minute and 5 seconds. And I've done worse things for 1 minute and 5 seconds. So it wasn't too bad. Deal with the pain. The line definitely worked out. I don't think that I would do the lightning lane, like the individual lightning lane. I don't think it's worth that. I think Rise of the Resistance is worth it. I don't think that this one is, but it was definitely a fun attraction. Better at nighttime.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun at night with all the lights and stuff. I like that it's only 1 minute because I feel like it's one of those ones that if it was too much longer, I might feel nauseous. So it's like one of those things where I feel like I loved it so much because the minute I started to think I'm going to start to get sick, it was over.
Yeah. Cosmic Rewind. It's that whole idea. Like I got Cosmic Rewinds on our last trip and it didn't end well because I did it at nighttime and it was right after dinner and we were going to do Beaches and Cream. We were going to go and have some fun. And yeah, as soon as I got off, I'm like, I have to go back to the hotel because I'm old.
Yeah.
And those
Welcome.
rides make you feel it.
Welcome to our decade.
Oh, yeah, I still tell people I used to run a Blockbuster, and you start feeling it when you're doing these rides. The nice thing, actually, something that did change was Big Thunder Mountain added padding on their seats. So now when you get jostled around, it's nice, fresh padding.
Nice. So a little bit of comfort there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So another thing that we did for the first time, I was able to buy Jill a new Loungefly backpack.
Oh, nice.
So this is the skeleton dance. I'll be able to put it into the show notes, but we were able to find it at the outlets. Now, here's what's funny with the outlets. As soon as I say outlets, people say, oh, it's old, it's out of date. No, there are different stores at the outlets. It's not just the Disney store outlet. There are stores there that allow you to buy things brand new. So there is a store around the corner from the Disney character warehouse called Heroes and Villains. When you walk in, it's all like Pop Vinyl, Funko Pop Vinyl. But over in the corner, because Funko also owns Loungefly, same company. So over in the corner, they have all these amazing brand new Loungeflies. So the one that I got Jill, the skeleton dance, actually only came out earlier this month.
Nice.
So we were able to get
pricing?
It was around $90 US.
Okay.
So it came to like 109, 110. So not horrible.
Yeah.
But you can't go wrong with that kind of experience, which is why I always suggest people go to the outlets on your first or second day, because you never know what kind of deals and what kind of Yeti hats you could find at the Disney Character Warehouse. I found my hat on day 2. It was $7. Yeah, $7.99 for a Yeti Loungefly hat from Expedition Everest.
That's
and
awesome.
I was able to get it, and that was my hat for the entire time.
Nice.
So yeah, so we did Summer House. We bought a new thing from Heroes and Villains. We also went to the Riviera for the first time.
And what did you think?
So we took your advice.
I know.
We did have the food. We got the wrap. It was good. I think that we have to go back again.
Spoiler alert. You messaged me when you were there, and I felt so bad because I'm like, you got to go try this wrap. It's really good. I tell everybody about it, blah, blah, blah. And then you were like, it was okay.
I think we went to the wrong, because we went to Pizza Piatta or whatever the thing is. But there's another restaurant at the Riviera, right?
The one downstairs.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe it was just a bad batch.
Maybe it was just a bad batch.
But like, we did have a little magic, and I'm going to share this later on in the thing, but that's where we'll circle for Pixie Dust later on. But we had an amazing experience with a cast member.
Nice.
So yeah, we were able to do that. I think the other big thing that we were able to do on this trip was we got to do Artist Point. We had never done storybook dining at Artist Point. Now, I will share, it is expensive. We are not talking about a cheap thrill here. This is something where it's going to cost you a little bit of an expense, and that's because it is a character dining.
Yeah, I can't remember how much that one was.
I know
the entrees are like $40, right?
I think it's fixed price. I think it's like 70 or 80 now, probably.
Is it?
Yeah. It was definitely a bigger price point because everything, like, it's a fixed price. So you pick your entree, you pick your dessert, and then from there, so $65 per person.
Right.
You get a shared appetizer for the table. Then you get your entree, and then you get your shared desserts. And the desserts were all little like verines or like little things. So they're not big, but we're talking about this Artist Point used to be the signature dining. Like, it was on point with Narcoossee's.
Yeah, well, I remember going there once when it was the signature dining, and Andrew had like bison or something weird. Like it was a very fancy restaurant we went to. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
Jill
you
Jill
dine with
got the
Dopey.
yeah. Well, was that's also it's a fun thing. I think when you're looking at the better character dining, this is a
Yeah.
good option because it's not in the parks.
But did they
You're
have
able
the
to
soup still? Do you get soup at the
yes
beginning? I
the
dream
mushroom
about
soup.
that. Oh, mushroom soup. No, no, no.
Hmm.
There used to be like
That's different.
there's a different soup. There used to be a different soup, and I dreamed of that
It
soup,
came
and
in a
that
cauldron, didn't it?
came in a
Didn't
cauldron, and it wasn't mushroom because I don't like mushrooms. It was it was I don't know what it was.
I
I'll
don't
have to
know.
look. Okay, but it wasn't mushroom. Oh, so it's
We'll
different. So
definitely
that's different. Okay.
yeah. And then when you look at like the folks, the big issue with character dining, especially in this kind of a thing, is you really don't get the professional photos. You get selfies
Right.
because that's just the way the photo pass is. But for this one, we were able to always say what you're celebrating. By the way, I learned this the hard
Mhm.
way and the easy way. If you are celebrating an anniversary or a birthday, tell them. The chefs love to be able to point this out. So we were able to do something with our anniversary. But yeah, when you go to this type of an experience, your main thing is you're getting a photo with the queen, which is great. But we spent all of maybe 16 seconds
Yes.
with the queen. And what's really funny is that we can actually do the timestamp. So the very first discussion was at 5:23:41. We took 4 photos, and my selfie was literally 38
Yeah.
seconds later.
Yeah.
So a character experience where you're spending that kind of money, you were in and out within a short amount of time. So we were like start to finish for that experience was 5:26 was when we left, and so it was about an hour. But
Right.
that's $200.
Yeah. And now the queen is at the end where you get your picture with her, but you get the ones that come to your table are still Dopey, Grumpy, and Snow.
Yes.
Right? Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
And that's one of the nice parts about this is that it is predictable. But we did that, and then we headed right back to the Magic Kingdom, and we're like, we're just gonna have more fun. This lesson for our trip this time was all talking about how we can get in and get out and just have as much fun, but also not overdo it.
Right. Well, given all you've already explained, that's overdoing it for Carrie and I.
Mm-hmm. I think every single day we were doing about 35,000 steps. So not as bad as Vegas, but Disney is very walkable.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, we were able to do that. We were able to hit up every single park. There were a lot of things that we did at the various parks, like Dinosaur, where we went in just to kind of say goodbye because we know that it's going to be changing. That area is definitely looking worse for wear with all of the construction walls up, and like it's fine. There's nothing exciting about Dinoland USA or anything like that. Restaurantosaurus we did eat at, and it wasn't horrible.
It's usually one's not too bad.
Yeah, and they've got their self-service beverage station, so you at least make your money back on that end. But what we found for this trip was that there was a lot of lines at attractions that didn't have to have lines. So we saw that, especially in the Magic Kingdom and in Epcot, there was like a 35-minute wait for Fiesta, the Three Caballeros ride in Mexico. And we're like, come on, this doesn't have to happen like this. Everyone was so disappointed when they get off because you spend that kind of time and you have that sunken time fallacy of like, oh, this is amazing. And then you got off and you're like, really? Didn't quite work out. I do have to share something really sad, though.
Uh-oh.
Do you guys remember at Kilimanjaro Safaris, at the end of the ride, there used to be a button. And this button, you would push the button. And then there are two elephants on either side of the boats that have little water jets in them. And you would push the button and the jets would go up and it would just drench the entire boat.
Right.
They've taken the buttons out. They've taken them out. And this was the worst thing for me. I loved pushing this button. There were two buttons, the red and the green. I loved pushing the buttons. And anytime we were there, Jill would always push my button and then I would push hers. And it was always great fun. It was cheap entertainment. It was free compared to Universal, where you actually have to pay quarters to spray people in Marvel Superhero Island. But I did want to be the bearer of bad news that they have boxed up the. It's so sad.
I don't think I ever pushed them. I don't think I ever even noticed them.
They also got rid of the Stitches of Hollywood. So do you remember the Stitches of Hollywood at Hollywood Studios?
Where was it?
So these were little things. Here, I'm going to show you. So they were in every single attraction at in the studios. It was brought out in 2017 as a way for people to go into the merchandise stores, and all the different Stitches had little name tags, and they had the like hashtag Rocker Stitch and Bellhop Stitch and everything like that. Those are officially fully gone. Yeah. Those Stitch toys, they were in all of the merchandise stores. It was kind of sad that they no longer have them.
I'm not a fan of Stitch, so
I know I'm a merchandise stork, so right. it happened.
So you would notice these things for sure.
Absolutely. The other thing that was a little weird was that I don't know if it's just me, but I couldn't find any Joe Rohde signs. So back in the day at Animal Kingdom, they used to have all these little signs everywhere in the Harambe Market area. And there were things that had like Joe Rohde on them. And it was really weird because they are all gone at the Animal Kingdom. Oh. I don't know if it's because when he was there, like he retired and such, but I've got photos of the before and after. And it was just kind of weird. Like, they're no longer here. Like they had, because he was the Joe Rohde Masks and Beads. So he had his own like little things all over the place, and they're all gone. Oh. So little things. The Disney parks are always adapting and moving and shifting, and they'll never be done.
No, never.
So those were the things that we did. But I do want to, was there anything as we're going through photos or anything, Carrie, on your end that you had fun with?
Oh, I was just watching your photos. I was having a good time scrolling through and looking at your photos while you were chatting. I was like, look at that. Isn't that lovely?
There's so much new stuff. Like we were able to find, they had put this brand new in One Man's Dream, a giant diorama of the original Disneyland map.
Yeah, it's beautiful, isn't it?
It's massive.
Yeah.
What we found really funny, and I felt so bad. So they're doing the meet and greets with the new Little Mermaid and Ariel. It was a walk on. Literally, we walked up and I felt bad. So I'm like, we're just going to talk with Ariel. There's a lot more character experiences at the studios. Mm-hmm. There was nothing in Animal Kingdom. I miss like Turk and Miko and like those kind of characters just walking around. They're not there. They're all kind of hanging out at Hollywood Studios right now.
And what did you think of the food at Hollywood Studios?
Oga's Cantina has gone downhill a lot. When we were there, they actually put us at a table, one of the shared tables, with another two groups. Mm-hmm. But we joined at the end of their time. So Jill and I are just kind of sitting on these stools facing into this group.
Them. Yeah.
And we're like, oh, so they're already drunk. Like, this isn't a fun kind of conversation. And we weren't able to see behind us, which was the entire experience. And so it's the first time, and I've heard some things about their seating. They're trying new things with some of their seating. But I'm like, I would have just been happy in our old spot, which is like at the bar, but at the very like back end. But yeah, apparently there's some issues with that. We did start out the day at Hollywood Studios with the Roundup barbecue.
And
I was in love.
Okay, good. Because I did tell you you'd like that one too. So now I feel like I've redeemed myself.
So it was great. It was really hot the day that we were there. So it worked out perfectly. But yeah, we were in there. I love the fact that they have all their different sauces. There's a lot more like tables for two, I found, which was very nice. And the food was great. Like, start out with the watermelon and the bread. They're constantly bringing you food refills, and like, you can't go wrong with some of the options, all the meats and everything like that. And then Jill had her own vegetarian options, which didn't look too bad. It was very tasty. Her win wasn't actually the entrees. It was actually more the sides. The sides are absolutely incredible. Those tater tots.
Oh, beautiful.
Breathtaking. The mac and cheese.
They're just tater tots. That's what Fran said too. She's like, I can put these tater tots in my purse. And you're like, they're tater tots.
No, there was something special. It's kind of like, it's like a McDonald's hash brown. I don't know what they do, but there's something fun about those potatoes.
Yeah. And amazing stuff.
The only thing that was not vegetarian was because our plant-based is the macaroni and cheese, right? Like, everything else fairly safe.
Oh yeah, mac and cheese, I think it's still vegetarian, it's just not vegan. But yeah, everything else was absolutely incredible. Service was really good until at the very end. It's just weird how you have incredible service and then the servers kind of move on to the folks who are coming in. And by the time you want to pay, you can't find anyone to pay. So it gets a little weird. You're kind of sitting there being like, anytime now, please. I just want to pay and mosey. But the Verines were really good at the end. Yeah, by the time, so if we finished the Verines, we were like, 10 after 12:10 or so. By the time we left, it was 20 minutes later. We're just like, oh, this is tough. I want to walk this off.
I know.
Then actually the worst part about our Hollywood Studios day was that Rise the Resistance was down for the first half of it.
Yeah. Shoot.
And that happens.
It does. And it can happen so easily. Like, I've heard things like a squirrel getting loose. It'll just set off the sensors and it shuts it all down. Yeah.
Yeah. So things like that, especially because it's an outside attraction. Like, there's only so much that you can really focus on. So yeah, that was an interesting one. We also did 50s Primetime. This was our only day that we actually did 2 table service restaurants. And 50s Primetime wasn't bad. Jill had the salad and I had the meatloaf, and it wasn't bad. Jill originally, during our trip, she wanted to do the cornbread showdown. So every place on property that we could find cornbread, she was going to review it.
Okay.
And it worked out perfectly for day 2. And then they're just so big. Yeah. And you get them at the end of your meal and you're like, oh, that was a lot of cornbread. And then you just have to take it back with you. And yeah, it gets a little difficult. But I was more just impressed that I was able to get Jill to do so many photos on this trip. It doesn't happen normally. Normally it's ooh, shiny. And then I get to bribe her with Dole Whips. So it was a fun one. Now, Carrie, when you were there, did do you have the annual pass?
No.
So you have to do the per day. Do you do park hopping at all? Or is it all just one day?
Yeah, usually park hopping.
Nice. And am I going to listen to the next episode and hear about the pin event?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So I shouldn't say anything. What was really funny was that when we first got to Disney Springs at the Disney Pin store, there was a little display about the pin event. And I was like, oh, this is so much fun. And then I was like, wait a second, this is already sold out. Wait a second. Carrie's already here. I should just send this over to Carrie. So it was kind of funny to see that they had put a little like attention pin traders, we're able to sell this out. And I'm like, come on, guys, it's already sold out.
That's
why
crazy.
Advertise it.
There hasn't been, the only time a pin event didn't sell out was when they did the virtual ones during COVID. I don't think there's ever been a pin event that didn't sell out. This one sold out in like 45 minutes or half an hour or 16 minutes. So it is silly that they took the time to print off
like a full display, and put it in a prominent location. I'm like, this is just kind of
so cool weird. That they had the pins. Like, this is the first trip I didn't go to Disney Springs. I usually always go to Disney Springs. I always go to the pin store. I always have a sandwich from Merle's Sandwich. My toes didn't even step on Disney Springs property. So,
can we talk about pin trading?
Sure.
I am so frustrated with the pin trading after this last trip. And I love pin trading. Actually, in front of me right now, I have my pin trading bag that I bring down with us, and then I have the pins that I trade for. And in the pins that I trade for, I have 5 pins in here that I traded for the entire trip. I have over 20 that I brought with me each and every single day. The pin trading boards are full of like fakes. They're all fakes. And Disney back in the day used to spend time in making sure that if something was put onto the board, that it was a good pin trading pin. That doesn't exist anymore. And I feel like when they keep raising the prices of pins, because pins are now like $19-20 for a single pin. And you're like, what happened to the pin trading aspect? And now, did you guys see this whole mystery shoe thing? Do you guys know about the mystery shoes?
Yeah, they have them at the expo. They're selling like little shoe figurines.
No, actual shoes. Like they're physical shoes, and they're mystery.
They had little mini baby ones at the expo. Like you bought a little box and you didn't know which shoe. Yeah, they were like that, but they weren't big shoes. They were, those lacers. They're just like little baby shoes.
Yeah, so those are actually like at the bottom, and that photo didn't have it, but I'll definitely try and find it. They have like, it's a full-fledged thing. Like they've got their actual like physical shoes. Like they size them and everything. And you don't know what you're buying until you open up the box.
Yeah, mystery, just like any, yeah.
I'm not a fan of like mystery boxes.
Yeah.
I like to know what I'm buying.
You don't like Finalmation?
Oh.
I did it once with Carrie. I can't remember what those figurines, what we were trying to get. It was the 50th. I think it was the 50th. Yeah, but then you only get then you get duplicates, then you got to go find someone to trade with.
That's the life of a collector. The thing, like, back to the pins, like my friend that I was with last week or whenever it was, we like she pin traded all week, and it's a full-time job. She came home with, she probably traded on the boards for 30 pins or more, but she had to work at it like all the time. And I don't know that we could really blame Disney, because it's the people buying them off of eBay for $1 and bringing them to the parks.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because they cost a lot, but if they threw all of them out, there'd be nothing on the boards. So they'd have to start doing more hidden Mickeys, or I don't know. There is stuff on the board. There definitely is. It's a full-time job. And I was kind of joking because like we were together a lot of the time, and she would show me what she got and I would be like, oh, I didn't look. So like she looks all the time. She looks at all of them. She circles back, and she just looks every time there's a board. And she probably brought home 40 things off of the board. Like she sent me pictures of all of her trades at the end of the week. Some of them were a few of them might have been scrappers, but most of them pretty legit. Like I think I found like the few times I looked, I think I traded for maybe 2 pins just to trade. But
So I have I think it's at least 60 to 70 different photos of the pin boards because I took photos of every single pin board that I came into contact with. And when I was working down there, and things are completely different. And I never want to be the guy of like, oh, back in my day. But back in my day, the way that pin trading used to be was that at the end of your shift or at the end of the day, if you had scrappers on them, you had a allocation of new hidden Mickey pins. And they were strictly for the cast member exclusive. They had the little Mickey on the back. And you were able to switch out 2 of them. So that way you would start out the next day with something fresh. And you always, like I was at the point when I was working down there where I would take my lanyard into the parks and I would pin trade. So that way, when I was working, I was able to have a better pin trading experience. I would do hidden pins. I would do everything like that, like trivia. But now the pin boards, when you're walking through the parks, every single pin board looks like, as you said, it's an eBay pack. That's all they are.
Everything on there is a scrapper.
Yep.
That's the thing. You can tell from walking away that, like from walking from afar, you can tell like that they are for sure. But again, yeah, like if they did what they used to do, they would have to produce a heck of a lot more hidden Mickeys or create a whole new system of how they're populating the boards. And I think some people too, they don't like. Some people don't really care. Like they don't care if they're scrappers. They just want to try to get the whole set or get all the stitches or get everything that they're collecting. So, I think a lot of the people like us just give up. Like, and for my friend, like, we go all the time. Like, that's what she, like the search and the hunt for them. She thinks it sucks too that they're all scrappers, but that's fun for her, right? Too, to keep searching and looking. And when you're at World Showcase, you go around. And if you're staying there longer, you check them again to see if anything's changed, right? Like, so that's part of her fun and her enjoyment. Whereas for me, like I bring pins every time and I usually I have them in my purse and most of the time I don't even look. So yeah, I think for lots of people, it's like, it sucks and we just gave up. And so now it's for the people that either want to do the extra mile and make it fun, or the people that are putting the scrappers on the board. They just want to collect all of them.
I did want to bring this up because this is my full set of Villains Vinylmation, Series 1.
Oh.
So inside of this has 20, it's 4, 6, what's 6 times 4? 28 different Vinylmations, and they're all independent. So I miss Vinylmation. I miss the mystery of it. I know that they used to trade, and that was one of those really cool, like in park experiences. You could do it in the stores or you can do it at the parks. And I miss that interaction. But yeah, to the mystery stuff, I'm a big mystery. Like if it's under $20, cool, we'll do a mystery. If it's a little bit more than $20, then I'm like, is that really still a mystery? It's a little expensive.
Yeah, I struggle when you buy them because then what were the pins that you got me into, Carrie? Remember the mystery pin box because it had Figment and Madame Leota?
Yeah, the 50th.
The 50th, and I bought all of those, and then I couldn't get the last one, and I kept buying boxes and boxes, and yeah, it was a bit.
But I think you're not like a collector like that. Like I think most people, that's the fun in it because they want to trade and. Yeah, it's like the hunt, right? Like
I like to collect. I don't like to trade.
And that's like me too.
Yes.
I like to I'm definitely more of a collector than a pin trader. This trip I managed to finish. I didn't get the chasers, but I managed to get the regular set of the Haunted Mansion Muppet puzzles.
Right.
And like for me, even for trading for them, I was like, that's so not. I was sort of I traded a little bit, really, because I had some things that I pulled off the board, or I had things like the things we got in the gotcha balls. Like I traded those, but yeah, I usually don't trade. So I was I was trading a smidge at the pin event. But yeah, I'm more like that too. But I think, if you like to collect and you don't mind trading, like that's the fun in it. It's a mystery, and you just spend more.
I know.
We just spend more money.
And
Spend
it's
more
merchandise.
money.
That's what Disney is all about.
It really
And the
is.
opportunity to spend more money and collect more things, and to find a Yeti that happens to be a weighted Yeti, and you realize that you can't fit it in your suitcase because it's weighted.
Uh-huh. They always
I
have such great things that are just
And this be
not
your personal item?
conducive to come home.
I tried. I think our next trip, and it's going to be so sad. I've been so good at doing carry on. I may look at the next trip having a checked baggage only on the way back.
Check a bag, man.
Only on
just
the way
check
back.
It. Just check it, man.
Because I buy so much stuff.
Yeah, it's so worth it. Like, just check a bag. I check every time. I don't even think about it. I thought I was going at one point for like a 3-day trip, and thankfully I ended up extending it. But that 3-day trip, I was thinking, are they all going to make fun of me if I show up with a checked bag?
100%.
But I was going to do it anyway.
Yeah, you got to play with it.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was a lot of stuff on this trip. My goal is to be writing until the cows come home at over at Steps to Magic. But there's a lot of stuff that I wish was different. I wish was better. I wish had a little bit more of a bigger spin to the normal guest. I felt like a lot of the stuff was pay to play. And the portions for food and wine have definitely gone downhill compared to in the past. We spent a lot of time in Epcot and Magic Kingdom and wandering around. But I just have fun looking at the past with Epcot and with everything, just to kind of see where things are going. I'm just hoping that the pendulum will go back, because I like cool things. Apparently up top at the Canadian Pavilion, they're adding washrooms. And I was like, oh, there's a space up there that would have been perfect for a new, like a Beaver Tails or something like that. And they're like, oh, no, it's going to be washrooms. I'm like, so excited to do something better.
Although I am always excited for restrooms.
I agree, especially good ones.
But yeah, I would love to see them expand the Canadian Pavilion a little bit, just to bring in a little more Canada. Like I think there's lots of Canadian good stuff in there. I just, I think they could do some more fun in there for sure.
Well, when I was working down there, we had the NHL, and it was really cool to kind of see that kind of a partnership. Now it's, a lot more of the Hatley, and I'd rather be playing hockey. And the nice thing is that we do have our own Spirit jersey, which I am a huge fan of. A lot more Canada Disney merchandise, our own ears, that kind of stuff. But I don't know. It got up to like 40 degrees the other day. I don't know how much of this I'd rather be out in the snow stuff. Canada's getting hot.
Yes. Yeah. It's funny because I had a friend who just got back. And I was talking to her today, and she said, I was happy to leave Florida because it was so dang hot. And I was just looking forward to, it's fall in Canada. We should be at least a little cooler. And she's like, and then I came home and I was like, what is going on here? It's still too hot. Yeah.
So the thing that is really funny for me is that you can go down to the refreshment port or the trading post, and they have the beer section in the back. We're not going to talk about the fact that Coke and Diet Coke and Coke Zero are $5.31. We're going to talk about the fact that a Molson Canadian is $9.85. If you want a Moosehead Lager, it's $10.38. That's $3 at the grocery at the LCBO. Like, things are just crazy down there. But yeah, I fully agree. There's a lot of things that I wish would be a little bit different, a little bit better. But the thing that was consistent this entire trip was the Victoria & Albert's was amazing.
Yes. So let's hear about your Victoria & Albert's.
Oh, okay. So Victoria & Albert's, for folks who don't know, you're listening to a fan podcast about Disney. So this is just going to get really fun. This is going on your bucket list. So Victoria & Albert's is a 5-diamond restaurant at the Grand Floridian. It's amazing. It's breathtaking. Michelin star rated. They just got their Michelin star earlier this year. And my partner Jill and I have been 3 times, and this was our 4th time. So the way that we got this reservation is you can send an email to get onto the waiting list at Victoria and Albert. So you just search Victoria and Albert's on Google. It'll bring you to the landing page, the official Disney landing page. Scroll down, and it has the official Victoria and Albert's email. And big fan of just sending an email saying, "Hey, we're looking at going to Victoria and Albert's. Can we get on your waiting list?" And they will do that. It's literally the best thing ever. You can look for reservations constantly, but I feel as though when you're looking at getting to something like Victoria and Albert's, you have to be able to reach out to them. They do have a phone number, which is funny because remember back, I don't know if you guys ever saw this, but back in the day, it was always 407 WDW and then 4 digits. So it was like to get to make a reservation for dining, it was 407 WDW dine.
Yeah.
And so you'd always call these numbers, and that's how you would get your dining reservations. Well, Victoria and Albert still has that. So if you need to, you can still reach out to them and get onto the guest list. We have an absolute blast each and every single time. It is very expensive, but it is a bucket list item. So our reservation for this trip was at $650. So you get to check in about 20 minutes beforehand. They seat you at your table, and then the presentation starts. You get a chance to have some laughs. You get your food. You get your drinks. You get to take photos of each other, all dressed up and snazzy. And then basically what happens is your service staff will bring out your menus. So there's 2 different menus that you get. One is the menu of the basic $295 per guest, 7 courses. They also have a little bit more of a fancier menu, which they present to you at that exact moment, where it's called the degustation menu. And this is basically the enhanced menu that for meat eaters, you get Miyazaki A5 Wagyu. But the price point for this jumps up from $295 up to $375 per guest. And you basically know what you're getting into from the get-go. You know that you're going to be spending a decent amount of money, but your goal is to have as much fun as possible. So you get in and just sit back and wait. And they just bring out the food. And every bit of food, because you're dealing with a Michelin star experience, it's all about the story behind what you're going to be tasting, how you're going to be tasting, what piece of food should be eaten with what utensil. Are they finger foods? Are they like, how are you supposed to indulge in this experience? And you have to go in thinking like that. It's a lot of food. I've seen people in the past say, "Oh, Victoria and Albert's, I left and I wasn't, I still could go and eat a burger." It's like, no. If you do this right and you pace yourself, you'll be good. But every single thing here is just mind blowing. So I've been sharing photos, and this is just the first course.
Yeah, I think it's funny because I look at the Victoria and Albert's, and we've said, Carrie and I are like, yeah, one of these days we're going to go and we'll have to get dolled up and,
Yep.
whatever. But I watch this show, I'm going to digress for a minute, but I watch this show called Below Deck, where people rent these mega yachts or whatever, and it's all about the staff that work below deck. But I always see them, and the chefs prepare these huge, and I always say to myself, one of these days I want that experience where there's a private chef who just at my whim is preparing stuff for me because it looks delicious, but it's probably stuff I would never think to eat. it's stuff that I would be like, ew, why would I eat that? But then the way they prepare it, it's delicious. And that is probably the one thing that I'd like to experience at Victoria and Albert's or any of those big fancy restaurants. Like, no
Oh, of
matter what
course.
they prepare, it's delicious.
Absolutely. So there are times that when you're stepping into this situation, it does like you're a fish out of water. You're trying to figure out like, what am I supposed to do here? What was really interesting with this one was that Jill is vegetarian. So we were able to have two separate menus, but they were able to actually infuse a lot of the same textures and flavors, but they were able to find plant-based options. So what's really funny is that the caviar that you're looking at right now is actually plant-based caviar.
Interesting.
So I'm going to get like the full science behind it. There was a lot of stuff that went into some of these things, and it was just mind blowing. But the article that we do over on Steps to Magic will definitely have that. But the food, breathtaking. Like some of these things, when I'm coming through and like sharing that this is like an amazing piece of fish or it's something like that, and they have these little croutons that are chips and they're hand done, and like you don't realize it until you're eating it. And pictures cannot do justice what Victoria and Albert's is all about. It's an experience. You have a harpist that can take requests. And we know some of the songs that she's able to play. She's really good at some of the early 90s hip hop, if you ask nicely. But cool. It's amazing some of the things like she was playing Powerline from Goofy Movie, like things like that on a harp. But yeah, we're talking about 9 courses where everything that comes out is designed for your experience. 7 courses, sorry. From the forks to the plating to just everything is all just so pretty that you can barely eat it.
Yeah.
Now, we were able to go back and say hi to Chef Gabby. And then we were able to spend some time with the maitre de hotel, who is Israel Perez, and Israel's been there since like the 80s. He's an amazing guy. When you think about Victoria and Albert's, you think about him. You also think about Matt Sowers, who's the main chef de cuisine, but like that entire team is absolutely brilliant because they're in every single day trying new combinations. How can we infuse technology into new things? And they're always coming up with new stuff. And it's just so much fun. So yeah, we were able to do this. One of the nice things with Victoria and Albert's is that they pride themselves on their bread. So not only do you get the bread, you get the truffle butter. They have courses of bread. There's 3 courses of bread. And just absolutely amazing stuff. The technology that goes into like making a Cheez-It cracker completely from scratch every single day is so hilarious. And then the thing that I always talk about is they've got their coffee situation, their pour over. We call it a coffee bong because it kind of looks like one. You can find them on Amazon. But it's basically they heat up the water, and then the water does stuff with the coffee, and then it just turns into science at your table. And it's so much fun. But these types of things are what makes Victoria and Albert's different. They are unique, they're different, and they have things that you'll never try outside of Victoria and Albert's because that's just the way that they do it. They have fun with this experience. Now, we were lucky because this is our 4th time. So we've done the Queen Victoria room once. We've done, this would have been the 3rd time in the main dining room. And so we knew what to expect, which is you go and you just have fun. Nice. It's expensive. But as I said, we spent $200 on Artist Point.
Right.
I'd rather spend a little bit more because this was around $700 for both of us for the meal.
For the 2 of you, yeah.
Yep. But we had budgeted and we stayed off property and we knew going in what to expect.
Right. Yeah, Carrie, one day we're gonna have to put our fancy dresses in our suitcases
You'll
and
have fun.
Yeah, for sure. We just got to do it. We'll do
we
it.
do. We do. Not at the same time, not on the same trip as Cinderella's royal table though. We'll space it out.
You have
We'll pace
100%.
ourselves.
And I'll make sure to get you set up so you know what to kind of go into thinking. There's some really great folks over on Instagram. Actually, it was funny. Israel is now on Instagram, and it's funny to see someone who lives in this world, and he's like, "Oh, I'm on Instagram. Follow me." And I'm like, "Oh, look at you." It's just so much fun.
Oh, that is awesome. So what was your one highlight of this trip, Dustin? Like if you had to, aside from you can't say Victoria and Albert's. The one like you were like, oh, I love this.
Okay, so I'm not allowed to say Victoria and Albert's. I'm not allowed
because
to say
I know you would say Victoria
stuff.
and Albert's,
Yeah.
right? Like that would if I had not put that on it, you would
Yes.
have picked Victoria and Albert's. So if I take that off the table, what was your one? Oh my gosh, this was fabulous.
So I am a nerd. I am a Disney nerd. I love Disney stuff that you can't find outside. You can't just walk through Main Street USA and find. I am a fan of the merchandise over at Disney Golf.
Oh yeah.
So the highlight of this
fun.
trip, it's a blast. So I bought decent amount of stuff on this trip. So we bought some puzzles. We bought some Starbucks mugs. I was able to get the Epcot, Magic Kingdom, and the Orlando one. So we were able to buy some stuff. I was able to get some pins and that kind of stuff. But the thing that I was most impressed with was going over to Disney Golf and Magnolia and that kind of world and look at some of the stuff that they're doing over there. And I was able to be like, hey, these actually work out really well. They're fun. They're unique. They're different. And I was able to pick up a new hat.
Okay.
It doesn't look like a typical Disney golf. And I was able to get a new golf shirt.
Nice.
So I was able to kind of find something different that I haven't had before. And it was only a short, Uber ride away. But I think that was the highlight. The other highlight, obviously, was spending time with friends. Seeing Carrie, being able to, how many times are you ever going to close down Haunted Mansion? We were able to go in, and best part was that it was actually a couple of ghosts were spoiling our route, so they paused us a little bit, but we were able to basically go from there and then close out the rest of the park, and having the Magic Kingdom to yourself at the end of a party where you're able to look up and down Main Street USA and just have 5 people.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
That kind of stuff is just cool. I was also able to spend about 6 hours in Epcot with Jill and then with Chef Gabby from Victoria and Albert's. And if you've never walked around a food and wine festival with a chef,
with an actual chef,
that is so much fun. It's a memory that we will never forget. It was just an absolute blast. But yeah, those are the types of things. The memories that you make with others are so much more impactful than what you make on your own.
So well said. Did Chef Gabby have a thing that she wanted to try at the Food and Wine?
What did we end up doing? There was a lot of we were trying to get as much randomness as possible. The one thing that we didn't want to do, and I'm kind of shocked that we didn't do it just as a joke, was the Italian nachos. Have you heard about the lore of the Italian nachos?
I don't think so.
I'm going to send you a video. You're not going to like it.
Italian nachos.
The Italian booth at Food and Wine Festival is historically the worst.
Horrific.
It's horrible. And every year they continuously do things that are worse and worse. And so this year they brought out the Italian nachos.
Oh, you'll
And
have to send me the video.
I'm
I
finding
can't
a
even
photo of it.
imagine Italian nachos.
Yeah,
Nachos.
so it's basically just nachos and then grease. Like that's basically what it is. Like
Ugh.
imagine a something that you hold in your hands and you're going to remember it for the next 5 hours because of the grease that is seeped through the cardboard and into your skin. Like
Ugh.
that's what I've heard this look like. And it's not a good, it's visually very gross, but it's the joke of the fest. There's some really good stuff though. You just have to look for it and do your research. But yeah, going around with Chef Gabby and anyone on the culinary team, you get such a unique thing. Like we were able to do Living with the Land with a chef from Victoria and Albert's walking through being like, oh, we should use that. We could use that. We could use that. And you don't think
Nice.
about it until you're like, oh, I didn't know that you would want to use that type of pepper. Like it's
Right.
just amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What a great trip, Dustin.
It worked out.
It did.
The articles over on Steps to Magic are going to be very useful. My hope is to make sure that it's not going to bore anyone and to turn people into different, worlds. But yeah, there's so much that's changed over the last 2 years. And if you haven't been to Disney since like pre-pandemic, what is Lightning Lane?
It's night and day. Yeah, there's so much. Well, it sounds like it was absolutely fantastic, though.
It was. And we'll see what's going to happen next year.
Yeah, I was going to say, what's happening next year? He's probably going to say, I'm going to Disneyland because, Disneyland's better.
it's a big birthday out this way. So it's a big birthday. It's a zero for me.
Oh,
and then,
a big zero birthday.
Yeah. And then Jill has a different birthday. So they're big birthdays for us in the house. So we'll see if we make our way eventually over to Disneyland Paris or over to, an Asian park or something like that. It would just be so much fun. It's just, I wish that the Canadian dollar would get better.
Oh, yes, me too.
There's a big birthday in California next year. Interesting.
Just saying.
Yeah, but there's also Epic Universe that's opening in Orlando. And I'm just saying that looks amazing.
It does. It kind of does.
Indeed.
I know it's going to have villains and all that stuff and blah, blah, blah. Like Super Mario Land is just like, it's just everything. I can't wait. I can't wait to see that. That to me is like, do, 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 do. I'm going to be so excited. I gave that game so many hours of my life. I can't wait to see it sort of come to life.
Which one? The normal one? Like the one in the 80s? The Duck Hunt and everything?
OG, man. The OG. I played that one until we beat the game multiple times. And then, of course, as it progressed, we got those games too. But yeah, I spent way too much time on that game. Yeah, I have a problem with games, which is why I don't have like a gaming console anymore, because I am one of those people that I would sit down and I will just play until I beat the game. Like I can't stop. Epic Mickey was like, it almost crippled me. Like the weekend, like, yeah, I would go date. Maybe that's how I could lose some weight, is actually if I started playing games again, because I would literally forget to eat. But yeah.
Pokemon Go, if you looked at how impressive it was back in 2017, how a single game got so many people out of their houses and walking around various neighborhoods, and like I was playing Pokemon Go when we were traveling. I'm like, oh, there's really cool like Pikachus over here, and it's so different than what it is right now. But yeah, that would be really fun.
There's so many, gaming. Oh, I can't wait for that. So you'll have to keep us posted what your plans are for next year to celebrate the birthday with the zero.
I do have to share that I'm still playing Magic Kingdoms, Disney Magic Kingdoms on the iPhone.
Are you?
Yeah, it came out 3,017 days ago. I know because I log in every single day, and I've been logging in every day
Oh my gosh.
consecutively
Wow.
for 2,436 days.
Good Lord, Dustin.
Yep, I'm weird. It's one of those things. It's part of the fun.
It's part of the fun. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you for sharing your trip with us. That
No,
was fun.
this is a blast. I love being able to talk Disney, and one of the nice parts about our world is that we continuously go down to the parks. You're down there next, so I'm expecting to be in someone's suitcase very soon.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's big enough.
It's
Well,
100%. You can check me.
You want to know how big the suitcase is that we bought? It doesn't fit under a Disney bed. And you know, for those Disney beds, with a short person, you have to like high jump onto them. That's how tall these beds are. And our jumbo luggage that I was coerced into buying
I did not coerce. I suggested it's
doesn't
good
fit
luggage.
under a bed. The beds that they on purpose raise so that people can store their luggage under them, and our luggage doesn't fit. Anyway, so yes, there is room for you.
Yes.
in our
Amazing.
luggage.
Oh, I completely missed this. You're wearing the Muppets Lab shirt. Were you able to get all the other Muppet stuff?
This is the Muppet. This shirt's from the expo, but I got the what they've done is they've kind of copied the design, which kind of bums me out. That this is an Imagineering shirt, but that they copied it. But I got the what did I get? My friend ended up getting me the stickers and buttons because I was snoozing. I sat in that room for like an hour and didn't think to get the buttons and the stickers. I got the Muppets Lab pin, and then I was able to trade for the Swedish chef hidden the box, like the mystery boxes for the food and wine. I traded for the chef. So
I was sad that they had that really cool thing, the really cool Muppet Lab thing at the Odyssey, and it lasted like 4 days. And then they pulled it out because kids. Which, honestly, if you're going to install something at a theme park, you should know that they're going to be played by kids. So maybe don't put something where you can think, like, put it under glass, put it behind ropes, whatever it is, put a cast member there, put a photo pass, make some money off of it.
Yeah.
But it's sad.
I was going to say something there, and then it just completely went out of my head. My pixie dust. Yes, our pixie dust. Dustin is our guest, so we should let him go first. What is your pixie dust this week, Dustin?
So when we were in Florida, outside of being able to meet up with Carrie and spend time in Magic Kingdom and see everyone and say hi to Mickey, and I have a friend whose name is Mickey. Literally, his name is Mickey, and we were able to go to Disney Springs with him and his husband. It was really a blast. But when I asked Jill about pixie dust for this trip, the first thing that she said was when we went to the Riviera Resort, we were talking with the cast member who was ringing us through, and she asked what color of the resort mug we would want. And we said, no, we're just getting a soda. And she looked at us and she's like, no. What color would you like? And we look at each other and we're like, what do you mean? Like we're getting this, but sure, blue and green. And she hands us 2 resort mugs. Completely, like, she didn't charge us for this. This was a magical moment for her. And we didn't find out until we were at the I think it was the Contemporary or something the next morning. And we scanned it because it has RFID on it. And it was good until the 25th.
Oh, wow.
She had given us a 2-week resort mug.
Nice.
And it was just one of those things that you can't, like, we were stressed out because of the weather. We were stressed out because of all this other stuff. And for someone to just be like, I'm going to use this magic. It doesn't cost me anything, but I'm going to use it. And it was really cool to like have someone just be like, oh no, what can I help? And it just
so
little
nice.
things.
See, that's magic. I love it. I love it. The cast members.
And then right before we left, because I knew that we weren't going to be there until the 25th, I reached out to a friend of mine and I'm like, hey, so I'm not taking these home with me. So can we meet up for 2 minutes and I'll give you a couple of mugs? And he's like, wait, really? And I'm like, yeah, we're not going to use them. It has a week on them. So here. And he's like, oh, cool. My family's going to be doing a staycation here in a couple of days. I'm like, perfect. Enjoy.
Nice.
So it kind of just worked out.
You got to pay it forward.
Exactly.
Oh, I love that. That's good pixie dust.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. Okay, I'm almost afraid. Gary, what?
Pixie dust is easy. It's an easy one. I was stressing because I couldn't think of pixie dust, but then I remembered pixie dust. So you know how we have that awesome Disneyland or Disney cruise water bottle?
Yes.
What's the name of the brand?
Isn't it Tervis?
It's not Tervis. It's a different brand.
Corksicle?
No, it's not that. It's something totally different. But it's one of those good brands. It's like more of like a camping brand, like something that would be, that.
Is it
that
Yeti?
Type of brand. It's not a Yeti either. Anyways,
we probably should have written this down, but yeah.
And I just put them downstairs in the kitchen. So I got one a while back and I was like going on about how stupid it was because it's so big. Like I swear it's like 1.5 liters of water that goes in this sucker. And then when I put ice in it, like it keeps my ice cold forever. It's like a promo item they give out. It's not something that you can buy. It's like Disney gave it to me. And then this past week I got a second one. So now I have a matching set.
Nice.
And so it brought me a lot of joy because I felt bad because I smacked off the thing and then I used it. And then I tell every single person in the world. I told Fran to make sure she got her paws on one and she did. So now she understands.
I take it to work with me. When I go in the office, that's my water bottle. Yeah.
The name of it's on the plastic handle that you hold, but it holds it's at least 1.5 liters or 1 liter for sure. It's humongous. It's heavy as anything. You throw ice in that thing, you could knock down like a football player. Like it's big, it's heavy, it's metal, it's brutal.
I'm a fan of the big ones. Like
it is big.
You can fill it up and you're just here for the rest of the it's
pretty much like that one there, but maybe a little bit taller. It takes that much water.
How did you bring it home?
In my luggage. I usually actually bring it with me on trips now too, because it is so good. Like I'll bring it empty. And then what I'll do is, I won't carry it around when I'm out and about, but I will fill it with water and ice and leave it in my room. So that whenever in my room, when I wake up before I go to bed, I've got like this icy cold water and it'll last me. Well, it'll last Fran like 45 minutes, but it'll last me like I could fill it up every day or every day and a half. And it just stays cold. It's like you can leave
Carrie drinks water now. She's like a water drinker now.
So yeah, whenever I do travel with it, I take the lid off of it so that it obviously, if they can see it through the scanners, they can see that it's like it doesn't have a lid on it or whatever. And yeah, it's heavy duty.
That's awesome. It's a nice one.
I got 2 of them. I got 2.
I think that we should try to get Fran a Dasani sponsorship because I think that when she's in the parks and I couldn't imagine drinking as much water. There are some parks where they don't even have water refill stations. Like what's going on with the Magic Kingdom? I don't get it. But
I wouldn't know where they are.
It's only like when they make things over, things that are new.
Yeah.
But yet it's so incredible. But I was trying to think like when we were down there, like how much water and then not even how much water, but how do you bring them into the parks? Like how many water do you bring them to, or do you just like
bring water
first
too.
Step is
I buy them.
No, so you will never, ever, ever see me without a water in my hand. Like there's not a time throughout the day where I don't have a bottle of water on me. And if I don't have a bottle of water on me, I'm on my way to buy one. Like that's just who I always have water with me. But I usually, depending on how hot it is, I will bring one in my bag and then I carry one when I'm on my way to the parks. Because any more than that, then they get really warm and then I don't want to drink them anyway. I do have my, what's it called? My Tervis or whatever in my owner's locker. Sometimes I fill that with ice and bring it too. But yeah, I drink a lot of water. At home, I drink a lot of water too. Like Carrie's like, I fill this thing or whatever, her thing, and leaves it in the room. I took it to work and I probably filled it 4 times today. So yeah, I drink a lot of water.
So one of the newest articles over on Steps to Magic is the free refills. And it's all the different spots you can get free refills. And all these spots are also the free water.
Yes.
You can get free water if you go to the top of the Coke store because they have the freestyle Coke machines and they have free water.
Yes.
And it's amazing, some of the stuff. Yeah. Well, you were on my mind so much during this because it was so hot. It was so hot.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how would you survive?
I have to buy. I have you have a Victoria and Albert's budget. I have a water budget. Because I need it to be cold. I need it to be ice cold. I need to be able to take it with me. So I always have a water budget. And that includes
free water is only good if it's filtered, because sometimes it tastes like
tastes like Florida water.
Yucky. It tastes like Florida water. Like our water tastes yucky too. When you go to restaurants here, right? Like sometimes it tastes normal, sometimes it tastes yucky. So yeah, like if it's not filtered properly, then it's yucky.
Yeah.
You had a water. That was so funny. I was not expecting you to have a thing of water as we're talking about water.
Dustin, I actually have.
No.
So I had 3 bottles before we started recording, and I'm down to my 3rd. So anyway, yeah.
What's your Pixie Dust, Fran?
You're gonna laugh at me. My Pixie Dust. So my Pixie Dust is the new iOS software on my iPhone. I know it sounds cheesy, and don't make fun of me, Carrie, because you're like an Android person. But the new software, you can now on an iPhone move your apps to where you want them to be. So it used to be, and Carrie's giving me this look, she's shaking her head. So it used to be that your apps were in a grid. You could rearrange them, but they were always in a grid. So your background picture was always covered by your apps.
Yep.
So now with the new update, you can move them wherever you want, which means I can have a blank space in the middle. So my screensaver or my background on my iPhone is Walt sitting on the bench, the statue, but he was always covered by my apps. So now, so now I can see Walt.
You do know that like your home screen, like when you lock it, you could just that's your your photo.
My lock screen is my favorite place. My lock screen is the yellow tables in front of the castle. My background wallpaper is Walt. So now you can rearrange it. So I was telling this guy at work, I'm like, oh my gosh, the new iPhone software, blah, blah. I'm so excited. And he's like, yeah, we could do that on my Samsung phone, like forever. Like, are you seriously just getting that now? I'm like, whatever. It's important to me. Now I can see Walt's face. So I've arranged my apps to be around Walt's face. So that's my Pixie Dust.
Wow.
You know what? It's your Pixie Dust. That's all that matters.
Yep. It makes me happy.
Progress.
Yeah.
Progress. That's for sure.
If something makes you happy, it doesn't matter what it is. There are times where you just have to be happy. And if seeing Walt while also having your home screen be something, it's
that's it. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Dustin, for joining us this week and sharing your trip and your adventures and everything with us. Where can people find you?
I'm over on stepstomagic.com, Disney Universal Trip Planning. I think I've got like 20 something articles up here now. Yeah, 28, possibly 30. But by the time this goes live, I'll have at least 5 more. So the goal is to always have up-to-date stuff over there. So I'm going to be over there. I'm also on Instagram at Dustin Foos or at Steps to Magic. And I'm typically here once, a quarter or so. Yeah. It depends on where I travel. It's just more fun.
It is. Thank you again, Dustin, for being with us. And Carrie, thank you as always. And if you haven't had a chance yet, please rate and review us wherever you listen to this. And tell a friend. Somebody might like to listen to us as well. Thanks again, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Pixie Dust Fan Podcast. We hope you enjoyed the episode.
Make sure you're following us on your favorite podcast player so you'll get a new episode every week. And find us on social media too. We'd love to hear from you.
Till next time, remember, you are never too old to be young. Chase your dreams and design your own happily ever after.